It is AFA Today on AFR Talk. Kevin McCullough, glad to have you with us. Our phone number, per usual, 888-589-8840. Just want to make this reminder as well. This is our major push week for the Critter campaign. If you have not yet gone to AFR.net and clicked that big, beautiful red button, you need to do that. Why? Because a family is in desperate need this next Christmas. I was talking with some of my fellow talk show colleagues over the weekend because we spent part of last week in Haiti together, observing people's needs in the true sense of the most impoverished on the planet. And we're just all of the opinion that, you know, we could give a lot fewer gifts this year and the world would just be just fine, especially to one another here in North America. But if we turn just a small portion of what we don't need to be given to one another and turned it to those that are desperately in need, we could make a huge difference. See, a little bit from our excess going to the huge need that they have, they'll actually take it and make the most of it. And that's what I love about the Critter campaign. Gospel for Asia is very key, whether it's the water buffalo or the goats or the chickens or the water filtration kits or any of the other things. They will permanently impact the life of the family that you give. So we're only at about 41% of the number of families that we need to reach so far. So if you haven't reached a family yet, please go to AFR.net, click the red button, pick from the cool things that they have. I don't know what all they got up there, flying squirrels. No, I'm kidding. But they've got practical micro-enterprise and food supplying opportunities for you to be a blessing into the life of someone this holiday season, this Christmas year. We need you to do this. Go to AFR.net, click the big red button for the Critter campaign on AFR.net. All right, the budget is on its way. It got passed controversially in the House. It's been sent on its way to the United States Senate. Governor Huckabee doesn't like this. The president does like it. The Senate Democrats seem to like it. The Senate Republicans don't. They're trying to turn 8 Senate Democrats to support it in order to get it passed and to the president's desk. For some reason, John Boehner and Paul Ryan like it in the House, and I'm having a hard time putting all those things together. So I asked Dan Celia to join us today. He was unavailable due to previous circumstances. I asked Governor Huckabee to join us. He is unavailable, but will join us tomorrow, and we'll discuss this and some other things with him. But my good friend, Dr. Kirk Elliott, who is the personal financial advisor to Dr. James Dobson and others that I could give you their names and you would recognize them in at least the Christian worldview and arena in this country. But he also is just a good-hearted guy with his doctorate in world currencies and economics. And so his perspective, I think, lends a lot to the discussion, and that's why I sat down with him just prior to going on the air today to have a discussion that we will hear some more of here, but you can get the entire discussion tonight or overnight on the Kevin McCullough Show. But Dr. Kirk Elliott, we were just talking about some of the initial problems that he had with this budget, and he only hit the first 2 bullet points when I brought up this objection. On the way to the studio today, I was listening to one report that said these are actually stimulus things that were supposed to be suspended, spending money that was supposed to not be spent because stimulus, the harsh cuts of the stimulus stopped the opportunity. And what they're saying is that no, we want to continue to do that, but down the road, that's where we'll save the money. That's a joke on face value, Kirk. But is the whole thing riddled with this? Is that the primary reason people that are concerned about the stewardship of our money in America would be against such a thing?
Yeah, I mean, I just saw a number recently that 71% of America thinks that Congress needs to cut more. See, but politicians don't want to cut more. This is the pickle, and I hope we have time to talk about it because 81% of all federal tax revenues right now, the money that government makes through our income taxes, 81% goes out towards entitlements and mandatory payments, which is Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, government pensions. 81%. Kevin, can you run a country on the 19% that's left? No. But when 81% of our budget now goes out, or of our income now goes out towards this stuff, for politicians to cut that off, they would be cutting off the hand that feeds them because those are voters. Those are voters, and so they're almost forced by the way that this game is played to do the wrong thing, or else they lose votes. I mean, I know that's harsh. I know that's being harsh, but I really don't see it any other way when you look at it like an economist would in a black and white world. That's kind of what's going on.
Yeah, we're talking with Kirk Elliott, who is joining us to give us firsthand analysis of the budget deal. It is going from the House to the Senate. It has been warmly received by the House of Representatives, people saying it's a victory for the conservative cause. At least Paul Ryan and John Boehner are agreeing with that. A lot of people are saying that's not the case. And I'm not sure how people interpret it exactly, but it is. That's why we're asking Dr. Kirk Elliott, who has his doctorate in world currencies and economics. Kirk, let's talk about this and I used the wrong word a second ago. It wasn't stimulus that I was talking about. What's the term for the required cuts that came when nobody found an agreement in the budget deadline?
The sequester.
The sequester, that's what it was. So what they were saying is that it was going to be funds that were supposed to be sequestered, which I thought were written in stone. When you listen to the debate about the sequester, people were like, yeah, this is going to kill people. You know, dinosaurs are going to be robbed of weeds to eat, and children will go months without eating because we're going to stop. And now Congress comes along and goes, well, not really, because we'll just say we'll keep spending it now. We'll just promise to cut it down the road. And it's that whole shell game, don't look here, look there, that already has Americans really kind of torqued about how Washington works to begin with. The optics of this just looks bad. But you're saying on the substantive level, and of course we know the problems with entitlements, and I didn't realize it was that level. I didn't realize that 81% was the number. How come we don't hear that reported in the press more often?
I have no idea, but all you have to do is go to whitehouse.gov, look at the budget, and $2.9 trillion is what's brought in federal tax revenues. $2.3 trillion is what's spent on just 5 line items: Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, TARP, and other mandatory programs, which are government pensions. 2.3 trillion of 2.9 is these entitlements and mandatory payments. Wow.
And has Obamacare been folded into that deck of cards yet?
No, because Obamacare really isn't fully implemented. This was the budget for 2013.
Right.
See, a lot of this starts rolling out in 2014, which is why it is imperative that we get our financial house in order right now, because I think 2014 is going to be one of those pendulum shifting years where we really do go into an inflationary economy where interest rates start to spike. And boy, when you have inflation, which raises prices, and you have tax increases, which lowers people's income, that is a complete recipe for disaster. But I think that's what's coming in 2014, and there's real sound reasons why I think that.
Well, and that's also frightening. Friends, I want you to do a couple of things, and one is know what your personal financial obligations are going into 2014. Understand what you have on your plate and make sure that that is all accurate. But I also want you to do something else, and this is what I love about Dr. Elliott, because he's just this kind of guy. He has an abundance of resources for those that are listening that would like to. It's part of what God has called him to, and it's part of why people like Dr. James Dobson trust him. Because he does this with integrity. But there are a couple of white papers. One are the 10 steps to guarding against an economic earthquake. One is also the 5 signs of hyperinflation and how to guard against them. You can get either of those. There's also a couple of either a video or a series, a financial mastery series, or just if you don't have time for 5 hours of content, which is what the Financial Mastery Series is, then there's just the simple DVD, The Fuse is Lit. These resources, I think, break down, at least when I was going through them, a better understanding of the world around us in a way that few have ever taken the time to really put into words. And today, just because you're listening to this broadcast, you're going to have the opportunity to access any of these as a public service of Kirk's office. So what I want you to do is I want you to write down a toll-free number, 866-211-8986, 866-211-8986, and ask for any of those resources that you've heard me mention, the white papers, the DVD, the Financial Mastery Series, or I want you to get online at americasfinancialdoctor.com, which is Kirk's website, and you can also get his newsletter and a couple of other things. Again, all exemplary resources, and there's never an ask for a donation or anything like that in exchange of that. Kirk, let me come back to the preparation for 2014. We are 3 weeks away, basically 2.5 weeks away from ending this year, and time ticks by. Time's running out on 2013. But you do have Obamacare kicking in. You do see Washington getting real monkey business with the budget. There's all kinds of things that people have speculated about foreign currencies for 2014 and what difference those are going to make. Right now, what is your personal forecast for what you think the new year is going to be?
Well, we have a glimpse of it with Ben Bernanke, chairman of the Federal Reserve right now. He's a lame duck Federal Reserve chair. He's out. He's out January 1st. Who's taking his place? It's Janet Yellen. She's already had her confirmation hearing. She's already had her nomination speech. And what she said, if I didn't understand economics, Kevin, I would have stood up on the table. I would have cheered. I would have pointed at her and said, I want her. She is amazing. Because what she said was so political, and it hit all the right buttons that everybody's concerned about. Because what she said was, I have one stated purpose when I become Federal Reserve Chair, and that is to keep interest rates low for everybody in America. Because when interest rates go up, the housing costs go up, and this hurts marriages, this hurts families, and this hurts kids. It's like, bravo, great speech, but I agree with that. It does. This is why people need to get out of debt. If you didn't have debt, then rising interest rates really don't affect you all that much. But everybody's just under this great weight of debt. You know, corporate America, municipal governments, the federal government, state governments, people. I mean, everybody's in debt. So when she says this, do I agree with her stated goal? Yes. It's the implementation that actually scares the living daylights out of me. Because over the last couple of months, Ben Bernanke has been pumping stimulus of $85 billion a month into the system to try to keep interest rates low. But he is failing. Interest rates on the 10-year treasuries, Kevin, have gone from 1.5 to 2.6% during that time. That's an increase of 63% in the rate. And this is with $85 billion. So let me ask, if somebody says my only stated goal is to keep rates low, and Ben Bernanke has failed with $85 billion a month, where is she going to stop? At $100 billion? At $120 billion? At $200 billion? There is no upper limit when that's your only stated goal. And so this is the killer of all of this. This exact mechanism that she is going to use will work in the short term. You know, you can fool anybody for a while, you know, but medium and long term, when we do that, we are turning our currency into monopoly money. We are devaluing it. Nobody's going to want it anymore. Then the only alternative left to create demand for our currency is to raise rates. So foreigners like China and India and Malaysia and all these other countries say, hey, we actually want the U.S. dollar, but we don't want it at 2% interest. But, hey, if they're paying 15% interest, now all of a sudden there is a reward to the risk being taken for investing in our U.S. treasuries. This is why the exact mechanism she is going to use will actually kill our currency in the medium and long run, which is why I believe it is imperative that we start acting now, because this cycle actually starts in January.
Okay, friends, the January 1st date is going to prove to be quite tricky, and this is a very problematic scenario that we're discussing. And Kirk Elliott is one of those watchmen on the wall that has dedicated his life to helping the kingdom of God be the best stewards of the resources that God has given them that they can be. And I told you he's got white papers, DVDs. He's got all kind. The important thing is that you just connect, so that his office can help you make sure that you are covered in the way that you need to for the coming year. And more of that discussion with Dr. Kirk Elliott. Again, we're reacting to the budget and what difference it makes. to your life today. If the Senate passes this thing, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse from where it has been. It's going to be worse. And then couple with that the folding in of Obamacare, the increase of the entitlements that are currently under law, which we're going to find out all that discussion about sequester didn't really matter. It didn't really matter because sequester, at the end of the day, is going to end up being somewhat feckless and useless. Anyway, there's lots more of analysis of that to come, but I'm glad that you're with us, AFA Today. And if you had a question for Dr. Elliott, I would love for him to have been able to be with us live. He wasn't able to. Neither was Dan Celia. Tomorrow, Governor Huckabee will be here. But we're trying to give you some important information about how you can guard yourself. Because, friends, think about this. If the nation is willing to throw all of us under the bus corporately, to an economy, to a busted system, to an economic situation that none of us can get away with in our own private. We go to jail if we do this in our private life. But corporately, our government is willing to throw us into this situation and not even blink at it. Then, friends, if you and I are to survive, we have to do something differently. We have to be smarter than that. We have to remove the confusion, replace it with truth, and to pursue clarity. And so I'm glad you're with us, and I hope this is helpful. Kevin McCullough coming right back, AFA Today. The budget on its way to the Senate. What difference does it make? Our guest, Kirk Elliott, and I continue momentarily here on AFR Talk. Stay with us.